Hello and welcome, adventurers. I'm Mary, and in this video, I'll be going over the history and story of the 1000 Maws of Toto-Rak. This video is part of a series covering the dungeons of Final Fantasy XIV, so lock up any misgivings and don't bail out. Until 35 years ago, the 1000 Maws of Toto-Rak was used as a jail for Gridanian criminals. It's never officially stated as Gelmoran in origin, though its architecture is reminiscent of known structures built by the ancient civilization. Heralded as the Seventh Hell-Made Manifest, the Seedseers that preceded Kane Senna and her siblings deemed the jail barbaric and unworthy of Gridanians. They sealed Toto-Rak in favor of a new jail closer to Gridania. In 1.0, rumors of Garlean mercenaries lurking around the vicinity of the abandoned Toto-Rak began to crop up. An investigation team from the Order of the Twin Adder and a journalist from the Raven entered the dungeon to ascertain the validity of these claims, and was never heard from again. The Twin Adder began sending adventurers to discover the truth. They found that the Garleans had set up barriers that impeded movement within Toto-Rak, as well as measured its flow of aether. While the Garleans' motive was never learned, the presence of the Magitech devices whipped the local fauna into a frenzy. 3 Diorite bosses, Antares, Graphias, and Shala, awaited those brave adventurers who journeyed inside. The music that played inside the dungeon was the Dark's Embrace, the Dark's Kiss, which is the music that played in any of 1.0's instance dungeons. Forays into Toto-Rak were limited to 60 minutes. Parties had to carefully map their route due to several ledges in the dungeons. These ledges were one way because 1.0 characters couldn't jump. In A Realm Reborn, our Warrior of Light has been tasked by the Scions to aid Gridania in reaching an accord with the Sylphs of Little Solace. Their elder, FFXIV, has gone missing, halting talks of peace until he is found. After a long series of events, Buscaron of Buscaron Druthers in the South Shroud tells us FFXIV was spotted near Toto-Rak. While searching the area, we come across Garlean soldiers. Shortly after, another Sylph named Neuraxia confirms that the Elder entered the dungeon to escape his pursuers and has not returned. Ida and Papalymo implore you to save the Sylph before he is ravaged by the beasts inside Toto-Rak. Once inside the 1000 Maws of Toto-Rak, we find that not much has changed since before the Calamity. The layout is mostly retained from the 1.0 version, though some tunnels have collapsed. An interesting callback to 1.0 is that in certain sections, untargetable broken treasure chests can be seen. These actually correspond to the exact points on the 1.0 map where treasure chests used to be. A little known fact is that in the beta version of A Realm Reborn, Antares is still in the dungeon as an optional side boss in his same 1.0 spawn location. He was removed by Phase 3 of the beta to keep in line with the 3-boss dungeon design. On the walls of the first part of the tunnels, we find a total of 4 notes left by the leader of the initial investigation team. It chronicles their progress, and hints that the leader thought that the technologist from the Ashcrown Consortium may not be who he claims to be. Our progress is halted when we come across the force field set up by the Garleans. The Magitech device controlling these barriers require 4 photocells to shut down. Luckily, these photocells are easily found, either floating amongst the roots of plants or left behind after defeating certain enemies. Touching the Magitech device draws the attention of a nearby coral of ninetails, which are easily dispatched. After making our way through 2 Magitech barriers, we find ourselves at the part of Toto-Rak almost everyone hates, the slime floors. Stepping on this slime gives you a debuff called Leaden, which decreases movement speed. The only way to get rid of Leaden is to stop walking on the sticky slime, which covers almost all the floor. There are also fleshy pods that explode and poison you if you get too close. A ranged attack can detonate these pods without spreading the poison. After walking through slime, clouds of poison, and sticky dynamite webs, our Warrior of Light finally reaches the Abyssination Chamber and comes face to face with a mysterious robed figure. He introduces himself as the Asian La Habrea. After monologuing about destroying both the Warrior of Light and Hydaelyn, La Habrea uses his dark magic to turn a nearby Selmite into the final boss, Graphius. After exterminating Graphius, a pod falls from the ceiling to reveal Frixio. As he thanks us for defeating Graphius, the Echo grants us a vision of a group of Garlean soldiers led by Nero Tolskeva. They're looking for signs that the Sylphs have summoned their god, Ramu, to no avail. Nero questions the soldiers about the Sylphs they had captured, and the Centurion nervously admits in their zeal to torture the Sylphs into summoning Ramu, they had accidentally killed their hostages. Nonplussed, Nero calls off the search and alludes to the near completion of Van Belsar's ultimate weapon. Back in the present, Frixio agrees to answer the Warrior of Light's questions about Ramu. We return to the Druthers, and Buscaron congratulates us on saving the Sylph Elder and says we can stop by any time for some Kikirn firewater. As of patch 6.1, the Thousand Maws of Toto-Rak has undergone a massive redesign. Gone are the cramped, winding corridors of 1.0. Instead, the dungeon now boasts a wide linear path. You can see some of the original pathways are now blocked by rubble, presumably from the aftermath of Dalamud. There are now only 3 water-stained notes, left by an expedition sent to investigate a possible dynamite infestation. This change, along with the removal of the Magitech photocells and barriers, effectively retcons the Garlean presence inside Toto-Rak. The dungeon is a lot brighter than its previous version, with light filtering in from above. The broken chest Easter eggs are sadly missing. The Coral of Ninetails are still the sub-bosses, now with their own official fighting arenas. As you make your way through the dungeon, more and more signs of dynamite infestation appear. The webs that initially just block progression become more invasive, eventually coating the ground and giving it a squishy sound as you walk. The sticky slime floor has been removed, and the fleshy pods can be seen decorating the walls along with what seem to be egg sacs. Graphius's boss room is now ground level, and no longer has the drop and draw in effect. It did, however, get to keep the sticky slime, which I'm sure makes someone happy. Graphius herself is mostly the same, the only real change being her fleshy pod spawns are no longer targetable, and they now have an AoE marker and explode after a set amount of time. So what do you think of the 1,000 Maws of Toto-Rak? Do you prefer the new design, or do you miss the sticky slime? Let me know in the comment section. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like and subscribing. Thanks for watching, and until next time, adventurers, remember, you matter, and may you ever walk in the light.